How has Jalen Duren turned his season completely around from where people at the beginning of the year wanted him benched for Isaiah Stewart, and now he finds himself in discussions for a potential extension this offseason? We'll break down how his season has turned around in today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Ku Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Also, if you haven't already, head over to LockedOnDaily.com. Type in your email, and you'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. Also, I'll link down below our room at PLAYBACK. If you want to watch the Pistons games with me and the rest of the Pistons fan base, it's been a lot of fun communicating with all you guys, laughing back and forth during the games. It's been a ton of fun. If you want to join the Calhoun squad, go over there, subscribe to the room. We'd really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. If you guys want to know what the Calhoun squad is, you'd understand if you subscribe to the room. So head over to the link down below and watch the games with us. It's a lot of fun. Later on in the podcast, I want to talk about, can the Pistons compete with Boston tomorrow night? We'll see. We'll break down that game potentially. And how will Jaden Ivey fit with this team when he does eventually return? I've had a lot of you guys asking me about that, so we'll talk about that a little later as well. Do want to let you guys know, this is not my third time recording this. The first time I recorded this episode, I got all the way to the end, and my recording crashed. So we're going to pray to God right now, please do not crash on me a fourth time. I might go pull the black hoodie out and go Darth Coup if it happens. I'll lose my mind. But let's get into it. Jalen Duren. Where I'm going to go with this conversation, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised, but just stay tuned with this. At the beginning of the year, Jalen Duren obviously was not playing well at all. And there was a loud criticism, and there was a loud segment of the fan base that wanted Isaiah Stewart to start. Wanted Isaiah Stewart to start playing over him. And I was at one point one of those people as well. Jalen Duren was struggling to a point where he was hurting the Pistons, and I thought if they wanted to win games, they needed to play Stu. And I think those people, including myself, were right at that time. At that time, Jalen Duren was not playing well at all, and Stu was the better big at the time. He just was. And Jalen Duren came out and said himself, I was not playing well at the beginning of this year. I had to turn it around, which I can respect. And a lot of people focus on his defense. And the defense has gotten better over the last month and a half, since January 1st. He's been giving consistent effort on a play-to-play basis, which I think is the biggest difference for him defensively. I still think he struggles with bigs in space, guarding stretch bigs. But I think the difference is that he's giving effort every single play and not taking plays off, and he's staying locked in. He can have, you don't have to be the greatest defender in the world. You just need to be locked in and give effort every single play. He's been active on the glass, and we've talked about this a lot. I'm hoping to talk with JD or JB about this in the next week or two. But they're using him differently defensively. At the beginning of the year, they had him in a lot of drop coverage. Now, if you watch that Clippers game, anytime the Clippers try to run a 1-5 pick and roll with Duren, the Pistons blitzed that screen, had Duren high at the level, trying to play aggressive with his hands rather than back at a drop. So that's something you've seen a lot more over the last month and a half. However, defensively, I think 80% of that can go just to Ausar Thompson being injected to the starting lineup. It's not a coincidence that as soon as he started and started playing more minutes, the Pistons' whole defense went from third worst in December, and they've been the second best defense since. Like, that's not a coincidence. So it's not saying that JD did not get better and not giving more effort. He is. But the larger impact on him and the larger impact on the team is just Ausar Thompson's presence. That's the biggest deal there. That's why, for me, when I watch these games, what I've seen, it's not the defense that has changed for Jalen Duren that's warped his season around. That's turned everything around to where people are rightfully so discussing, should the Pistons give him an extension this offseason? It's not been the defense for me. Again, he has been more engaged than I am. Don't hear me incorrectly. He's been better. But that's not what's turned his season around. What's turned his season around is his offensive game. I don't think people were truly understanding or were aware of what happened at the beginning of this year with Jalen Duren offensively. I have some stats here that paint the whole picture. Coming into the season, JB talked about it a ton at Media Day. I was there. Talked about it a ton that he wanted to use Jalen Duren in the DHO, at the high post, with the ball in his hands a ton. He wanted to utilize his playmaking. At the beginning of the year, they tried doing this. But as the season went on, JB just took the ball out of JD's hands because he was turning the ball over at such an alarming rate and was making consistently bad decisions with the ball in his hands. So there was at one point in this season, early December, from till the beginning of January really, where JB had basically completely reduced JD to a rim-rolling lob threat being asked to play defense. You were basically reducing him to being a Clint Capella for the Houston Rockets. Protect the rim, catch lobs, set screens. That's it. We don't want you to do anything else. And that is because he was turning the ball over so much and making such bad decisions. The first 37 games of this season, Jalen Duren had a turnover percentage of 21.1%. That would be by far a career high for him. By far, despite not seeing a huge spike in the usage rate. It's not like he went way crazy high in usage rate. He was still at 15.0 usage rate. Despite that, the turnover percentage was spiking, was soaring, because for some reason, the playmaker and the decision maker we saw his rookie year and flashed at times in his second year just was not there at the beginning of this year. So JB for real just took the ball out of his hands and just said, we can't trust you with the ball in your hands. You're not making good decisions. We can't run that offense with you. And that's one of the reasons why I believe the offense was struggling at moments in December, because they didn't have someone else to really have, they didn't really have someone else to feed the offense to kind of run an offense through, because they couldn't trust JD. That has completely warped around. That's completely changed. He's been fantastic with the ball in his hands. He's been making consistently the right decisions like we saw him do his rookie year. We've been seeing him consistently making the right read out of the short roll. We've been seeing him consistently find the open cutter on the baseline to Ausar Thompson, find the open corner shooter, make the right plays out of the DHO, only picking spots where it's open for him to drive to the rim and get an easy bucket at the rim because he's capable of doing it, instead of just forcing a bad look at the rim for no reason. He's been making the right passes out of the DHO. He's getting more creative with his passes out of the DHO. He's making the right decisions with the ball in his hands. And therefore, he's been trusted to have the ball in his hands more. And he's playing way better because of it. And the impact is being felt. Over the last 18 to 19 games, that 21.1 turnover percentage has went completely down to 15.8 turnover percentage. He is taking so much better care of the basketball. And therefore, his usage rate has now went from 15.0 to 17.4% over the last 18-19 games. Those numbers paint the whole picture. Beginning of the year, JB had to take the ball out of his hands because he didn't trust him. He doesn't have to say it out loud. His actions said it. But over the last month and a half, he's been doing better and better and better. He's been dominant offensively. As a roll man, we know how great he is. He's in the 98th percentile as a pick and roll big. He's one of the best lob catchers, best pick and roll guys in the league. But what made Jalen Duren special wasn't that he's just a lob threat. What made JD special was the fact that he's capable of making plays with the ball in his hands. He's capable of making great passes, capable of making reads and processing the game quickly, and then making the right read quickly, making the pass to the corner, making the pass to the cutter down the middle, or down the baseline, making the right pass out of a DHO, whether it's a backdoor cut like we saw against the Clippers, where he does an great, crazy underhand pass to a cutting Cade Cunningham for an easy layup. Whether it's all of that, he's doing much better at all of it. And he's being given the ball more to do it. And he's thriving. So yes, he's giving more effort defensively, and that's big too. If he's not giving more effort defensively, we're still criticizing him. So yes, the improved effort defensively 100% impacts it as well. But the biggest impact is we're back to seeing what makes JD special. What makes JD special, what made him a special prospect, was what he could do with the ball in his hands. As a passer, as a driver from the high post, and his decision making. There was a play that perfectly illustrates this against the Clippers. He got offensive rebound underneath the rim, obviously. Takes a pump fake, dribbles, tries to pound somebody down, and then takes another pump fake. There's three guys around him, and instead of forcing it back up because he's saying, you know what, this is my this is my offensive rebound. I'm the one who created this. I'm going back up with it. He makes the right decision of turning around, kicking it out to a wide open Malik Beasley in the corner. It's not a highlight play. It's not going to show up in his highlight reel, but it's those small details, those kind of plays, those kind of decisions that help an overall offense, that separates JD from another big who would just go up with it because he got the offensive rebound, therefore he deserves it. He creates an open three for the Pistons and gets an extra 3 points for them. Those are the type of plays that JD is making now, and that is what makes him special. Give effort defensively, and as long as he's playing with Ausar Thompson, they will be fine defensively. But offensively, that's what made him a special prospect. And you are starting to see it again. You're starting to see the coaching staff trust him some more, get the ball in his hands even more, and he's thriving with it. That right there is why Jalen Duren's season has completely turned around. So let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel about this. Why do you guys think Jalen Duren's season has completely turned around for him? And why we're now having discussions about whether he's worth an extension this offseason? Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. When we come back, Pistons riding a 7-game win streak go against the Boston Celtics. Can they compete with Boston in Detroit? With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%, plus you also get a 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. That is Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold memberships is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Sign up today at Robinhood.com/gold. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Also, head over to Locked On Daily. Type in your email. You get a Locked On Pistons Daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons Daily podcast. Also, click that link down below for the playback room if you want to watch the games with me and the rest of the Pistons fan base and join the Cahoon squad. Really would appreciate it. And it's been a ton of fun. It's been a ton of fun talking with all you guys. We have a lot of fun talking about anything during the game, from what's going on in the game, breaking down the play, food. We talk about food a ton in there. Dinner. It's a lot of fun stuff that goes on in there. We have a lot of fun. So if you want to be a part of it one night, go ahead and hit that link down below and join the room. We would appreciate it, and I think you guys would have some fun. So the Detroit Pistons are now finding themselves going against the Boston Celtics, the NBA champions, after winning 7 straight in a row. This is obviously the highest point of the Detroit Pistons season. They are playing the best brand of basketball of their season, of the last 10 years, I guess you could say. They're playing tremendous. And one of the things I really loved, and we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, this back-to-back they were just on, they went from winning a game where they had to score 148 points against the Hawks to winning a game where they had to score just 106 and had to hold the team under 100 against the Clippers. They showed that they're able to win a shootout, and they're also able to win a dirty, bad, nasty, ugly game. This was not a fun, I don't know if you would call this like a fun game against the Clippers. It wasn't an offensive game. It wasn't a crazy shootout. This was a rough, physical, tough game that they played against the Clippers, and they found a way to dig in and win that game on the back end of a back-to-back after winning a shootout the previous night in Atlanta, flying back home to Detroit. That was super, super impressive to me, and it's probably one of their best 2-game streak, or the most impressive 2-game streak of the season because of that right there. Because of the ability to showcase that they could win that way one night and then win a completely different way the very next night. It's super impressive. But now they got Boston coming up. It was going to be a 4-game homestand for them. They got, obviously, this game against the Clippers they just played. Then they got Boston, which we're going to see tomorrow night. Then against the Denver Nuggets on Friday. And then the Brooklyn Nets on Saturday. All those are home games. And the second one is this Boston Celtics team. Can they compete with the Boston Celtics? Look, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. But if the Pistons, I'll say this, if the Pistons are able to compete with the Celtics, not even beat them, because I don't think anyone objective thinks the Pistons are on the same level of the Boston Celtics. Like, there is a clear top 3 teams in the NBA. It's the Cavs, the Celtics, and then the Thunder. Those 3 teams are the best teams in the NBA this year. Not even close, I don't think, anyone else. And especially in the Eastern Conference, I think the East has a clear top 2, and then there's everyone else. I think you got Boston and Cleveland. I guess maybe then you would say New York is in their own little tier, and then everyone else is in like the same tier for the next like 6 or 7 teams or whatever, somewhere around there. So I am not expecting the Pistons to beat the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics propose a situation, a matchup that not very many teams in the NBA are able to deal with. And like this is the reason why they were able to win the NBA championship in such convincing fashion. The team that they have constructed is extremely hard to be flat out. It's hard to beat. They have a stretch 5 in Kristaps. We know that's the Pistons' kryptonite. We know the Pistons struggle against stretch 5s. Not only do they have that, they play 5-out offense with lethal shooters at every position. So it's not just the fact you have a stretch 5. You got guys who are creating so much space on the court and causing you to cover so much space on the court defensively, and they constantly get your defense in rotation, which requires every single person on your defense to be in lockstep to make the right rotation and be able to give not just the first effort on the first rotation, but the second, third, and fourth effort on rotations. Against teams like Boston, you have to make that many rotations, that many efforts. Against most teams, you make that rotation down to the block on a dump off, you tag down on the roller, and then you X out, close out, and you're good. You know, you'll get away with it. Against Boston, they just keep going and keep going and keep going. You got to consistently give effort over and over and over again because of the amount of playmakers and ball handlers they have with a Jason Tatum, with a Jaylen Brown, with a Drew Holiday, a Derek White, a Kristaps, a Peyton Pritchard. Like, they're very, very deep with ball handling. And the Pistons don't have 5 Ausar Thompsons, okay? I'm interested to see who they put Ausar on because is it Jalen? Is it Jason? Is it Drew? Is it D. White? Like, I'm going to be really interested to see the matchups for this game against Boston. What I think is probably going to happen, the Pistons' best way at competing against the Celtics in this game, and I guess they did prove that they're able to do this past week, so maybe they're able to do it. But I think the only way that they're able to win this game or compete in this game is an offensive masterclass. Because I don't think they're going to be able to stop Boston. I don't think many teams in the NBA can. I don't think there actually is in the playoffs when we watch this coming year. I don't think there's going to be one team that can stop Boston offensively. Like, they're just different. The team construction, what Brad Stevens has done over in Boston, they're too stacked. And they play, unless Boston has a cold shooting night, which is possible because they shoot so many threes and they create so many open threes. If they have a cold shooting night, you can get them. So if the Pistons get a good cold shooting night from Boston, they could get them. But if Boston's going to continue to shoot like this, I just saw, literally before we started recording this, I just saw Keith Smith. Here it is right here. He just tweeted, as I'm recording this at 9:12, the Boston Celtics just set an NBA record as they've hit 15 threes in 13 straight games. Like, they just hit too many threes, dude. They're too good offensively. So the only way I can see the Pistons surviving in this game is going shot for shot with them in an offensive juggernaut masterclass of a game. I don't think they'll be able to stop Boston. I think they're going to struggle with their consistent dribble penetration and kickouts. I think that will be a big struggle for the Pistons. But they're going to need to explode offensively. Like, I think it's going to be like a 130, 120 type of game if they want to compete. That's what I see in this game against Boston. But I wanted to say this before we wrap up the segment, because I know saying, no one expects them to win against Boston. It's going to be hard to do. They're a different beast. I know it comes off as negative, but I think that's just real. The point is, though, they don't have to beat Boston for you to feel like they're still a great team, or not a great team, but a really good team. Beating Boston is reserved for the best of the best teams in the NBA. Just because you don't beat the NBA champions does not mean that this 7-game losing streak is a fluke. That how the Pistons have played since January is a fluke. They still are a very good team. They have proven that they are a really good team. They haven't proven to be on a championship contender level like Boston. And that is fine. That's not the goal of this year. That's not what the expectations are of this year. The Pistons have blown past their expectations. The one thing I don't want Pistons fans to do, what I don't want the community to do, is because they've blown by the expectations that's been set before them, that now you start putting unreasonable expectations on them, and then when they don't meet them, everyone thinks what we've seen already is a fluke. I think, and look, I'm just being real about how I feel about this because of how great Boston is and how well they're playing as of late. There is a chance the Boston Celtics may win by 10, 15 plus tomorrow. Like, it may get ugly because of how many threes they shoot. And I'm letting you know right now, if it does get ugly, if the Celtics do win by double-digit plus, that has no bearings on how good the Pistons are as a team and what they've done this season, just because they can't beat the NBA champions. Arguably one of the best offenses we've ever seen. So, if they want to compete in this game, the guy have a great offensive game. Malik's got to have a great shooting night. THJ's got to have a great shooting night. Cade's got to have an efficient night against Jason Tatum. Jalen Duren's got to continue to play how he's been playing. And Ausar Thompson's got to impact the game on his drives to the basket and be aggressive. That's their way of hanging into this game. And if Boston has a cold shooting night, I think the Pistons could get them. But if Boston continues to shoot how they've been shooting, it's going to be a tough game for the Pistons. It's going to be a really tough matchup. And look, how they play in this game, if they're able to hang in with the Celtics, I think that says even more about the Pistons moving forward. But like I said, if they lose this game by 10 plus to the Celtics, just remember, this is one of the best offenses we've ever seen. And this is the NBA champions. The Pistons not being able to be on their level is not an indictment on their season and who they are. And don't think everything else has been fluke. It's not fluke. They're a really good team. And we'll see just how good of a team they are against Boston. But no, nothing will take away from the fact that they're a really good team right now. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys think they have a chance against Boston? And how do they get this chance? How do they need to play? Where is the weakness that they can exploit? What do they need to do to hang in and beat Boston tomorrow night? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter @KookHill. Coming up, what's Jaden Ivey's fit with this team? Does he fit with this team when he returns with how they've been playing? We'll talk about that coming up. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in the game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off on an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Here are a few ways you can take advantage of the deal. After an epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. Planning to catch the next game? Order your go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action with the NBA. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Again, after a 50-point game, get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off after using promo code NBA50 with DoorDash. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel @Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Click the link down below if you want to watch the games with us, every single Pistons game. Playback. I'll put the link down below. It's a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun with it. Also, again, make sure you guys head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you will get a Locked On Pistons Daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons Daily podcast. Now, I've been asked a lot about how does Jaden Ivey fit into this team when he returns? Does Jaden Ivey fit on this team when he returns? Has Jaden Ivey been, I've had people ask, has he been removed, or is he replaceable, or is he tradable now? Does he have a spot in this team when he returns? And before I answer the question, I just want to say, I don't think people should be having these conversations in the middle of the Pistons winning 7 straight games. Like, I don't feel like this should be a big talking point. You should be enjoying the season that's happening and not immediately looking to the future. But let's just stay in the moment and enjoy what we're watching and the play we're seeing. However, I've been asked so much over the last 48 hours about Jaden Ivey's fit with the team. I asked you guys what you guys wanted me to talk about. Like 10 of the comments were about Jaden Ivey. So I'm going to talk about it one time at this point in the year. We're not going to revisit this until in the offseason. My answer, it's very clear how he fits. You sit THA and you start Jaden Ivey. And Ausar Thompson does not lose a starting spot. Ausar Thompson has to start. I think he's their second most impactful player. I don't know how you can argue against that, to be honest, with how they've played since he's been starting. But you cannot take him out the starting lineup. So the easy thing to do, you just take THJ out, and you run Cade, Ivey, Ausar, Tobias, or whoever the 4 of the future is, if you get him in the offseason, and Jalen Duren. Like, I think it's as simple as that. That's the lineup you run. Jaden Ivey was shooting the ball pretty well before he went down with the injury. He was shooting the ball at the highest he's ever shot it of his career. I think he has shown enough glimpses in his jump shot that you can believe that maybe he's not a 40%, maybe he's not reaching that high. Maybe he was just in a hot streak with that department, but he's not going to be a bad three-point shooter. At the very least, I think I could see him being like a 37% three-point shooter, which is really good. And maybe he is a 40% three-point shooter, near that, like he was when he went down. Who knows? We'll see, but I think he's shown enough to where you can believe that he's going to be a good three-point shooter, especially a good catch-and-shoot open shooter. We've talked about that ad nauseum. His rookie year, he was in like the 88th percentile on open catch-and-shoot threes. He was great this year again on open catch-and-shoot threes. So I think that's there. I think it's simple. You just play him instead of THJ. You're going to be even faster now in transition. You're going to have another guy who can push the ball in transition and can, cause problems, I should say, for the defense on the weak side, going against a weak side defense, going after a tilted defense, feeding off of Cade's gravity. Jaden Ivey's a fantastic off-ball player, I think. I think he's a really good off-ball player. He's a great cutter. On cuts to the rim, I think he's a much better finisher on cuts. He's a good catch-and-shoot open shooter, and he feeds off of Cade's gravity really, really well. So I think it's simple. That's how he fits with the team. I think the question people are really wanting to ask is, what people really are wondering is Jaden Ivey the starting 2 of the future? And look, I'm not about to get into that real deep here. I think Jaden Ivey will probably get the chance to prove that again next year. It sucks that he went down with injury this year and didn't get to see how the rest of this year would play out. But as far as where Jaden Ivey fits, it's easy where he fits. Is he the 2 of the future? Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it is. Because I know a lot of people want the Pistons to go make a big move this offseason. Want them to go get that second guy next to Cade. That second star. And I think the 2 places where that could come from is a 4-man or a 2-guard. It's one of those positions I think that's going to have to come from. And we'll see what they do. But Ivey, I don't think anyone should be questioning Ivey's fit. Like, I don't think Ivey's fit is the problem. Like, I don't think that if you want to look long term and then question anything about Ivey, it's not about whether he fits. Like, yes, he fits with this lineup. Now, I do have questions about will he demand the same type of gravity that THA grabs, because THA demands gravity with how quick of a trigger he has and how respected he is as a shooter. I know people, like to, joke about THA, but I think he's actually been pretty good for him this year, and his gravity is felt offensively. So I guess you could bring that up, but outside of that, like, he's going to be a better defender, I think, than THA, even though I don't think he's a great one. He'll be a better defender than THA. He can do more with the ball in his hands than THA. He's more dynamic, all that. You just take THJ out. If you want to ask a question long term, the question is really that needs to be answered about Ivy, I guess. If you want to ask this question, which again, I don't like that we're having this question or debate or talk right now. Is Jaden Ivey good enough with the ball in his hands as a creator? Because what the Pistons need, what we've all been saying they need, is a guy who can also create offense and be a scorer himself next to Cade. They need another guy like that. They don't need another guy who can, feed off of Cade. Like, you'd like the guy to fit with Cade as well. But you want that second guy to be someone who can create and be a scorer himself and create advantages for everyone else as well and make the right play out of that. That's not where Ivy really excels at right now. He's not a great finisher still. He's not been a great finisher for 3 years. Where he thrives when he's playing off of Cade. He thrives as an off-ball guard. He thrives as an off-ball scorer. He's a great off-ball scorer. That's where he makes his money. In transition, as a cutter, as a catch and shooter, attacking tilted defenses. That's where he's great at. If you want to question anything, it's, okay, well, he's great at that. Well, then where are we going to get that second star scorer from? I don't think that you're getting that from Ausar. And I don't think you're getting that from Ivy until he develops a lot and improves and becomes a much better finisher and becomes a much better passer and becomes a much better decision maker. Right now, he's great as a guy feeding off of Cade's gravity and playing off ball, which is fine. It fits in a lineup. But if you're sitting here having the conversation of, where is this second star scorer coming from? I don't think that guy's on the team currently. You're going to eventually get that guy. And I think the two positions that it's going to come from is at that 4 spot or that 2 spot, whichever one they want to go and get that from. So if you get what I'm saying, that's the only conversation you can have really about Ivy. The fit is not a question. Like, it's clear how he fits, and he does fit well with that. It's just a matter of what you think. I guess the next argument would be like, what do you think the ceiling is of that then? And how do they then get the next piece around them? What would be the next piece needed then with those 4 guys, and how do you reasonably acquire that? I guess would be the question then. But that's all I'm going in with Ivy. I know how sensitive Ivy stands get with him and talk about him. If you don't worship him at the altar, they think you're just dragging him. I don't think I dragged him at all during this, by the way. I think I was very complimentary of him, which he deserves. He played really well this year. I think he clearly fits with this team. But, yeah, so those are my thoughts on Ivy. Everyone's been wanting it. So let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel about Jaden Ivey's fit on this team moving forward, and what do you think about his future with the team. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. And until next time, peace out.